Just when I thought the night might consume me entirely, a gentle knock echoed at the door. Confused and cautious, I opened it to find my son's best friend standing there. His eyes held something I couldn't yet define, something profound, something that would change everything. The moment I saw him, a strange shiver coursed through me. Jason, my son's best friend, looked different under the porch light. He was no longer the lanky teenager who used to raid our fridge and fall asleep in the living room after hours of video games. Now, he stood tall, broad-shouldered, his face marked by the weight of experiences that had matured him. For a brief moment, neither of us spoke. The cool night air settled heavily between us, thick with unspoken thoughts. "I'm sorry for your loss," he finally said, his voice deeper and steadier than I remembered. I nodded, unable to find my voice. Grief had taken so much from me, my husband, my laughter, my sense of belonging, and now, it seemed, even my ability to speak. Jason shifted awkwardly, holding a small container in his hands. "I brought you something," he added softly, extending it to me. A simple, homemade casserole. Such a small gesture, and yet it felt enormous. It shattered the fragile dam I'd built around my pain. "Thank you," I whispered, stepping aside to let him in. The house seemed to absorb him instantly, like it had been starving for life and sound. He placed the casserole on the kitchen counter, then turned to me, concern etched across his face. "How are you holding up?" he asked gently, his eyes searching mine in a way that made me feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in weeks. I managed a tight, humorless smile. "Surviving," I replied, my voice cracking on the word. Jason hesitated, then did something I hadn't expected. He reached out and touched my hand, not in a fleeting, obligatory way, but in a grounded, steady manner that sent a tremor through my chest. I wanted to pull away, to retreat into the cocoon of sorrow I had wrapped around myself. But something inside me resisted. I needed this connection. I needed to feel like I was still alive. "Do you want me to stay for a while?" he asked, almost shyly, as though afraid of overstepping. I glanced around the empty house, the picture frames still on the walls, the crushing silence pressing in again. "Yes," I said, before I could overthink it. "Please." We moved into the living room, a space steeped in both comfort and sadness. Jason sat at the edge of the couch while I curled up on the opposite end, pulling a throw blanket over my lap. For a while, we just sat in silence. The only sounds were the low hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the old house settling. It was strange how natural it felt to have him there, like a bridge between the life I had lost and whatever uncertain future lay ahead. We started talking, first about mundane things, his new job, how the neighborhood had changed while he was away at college. Then, gradually, the conversation shifted into deeper waters. He asked about my husband, what I missed most. It was a simple question, but it cracked something open inside me. I found myself speaking aloud things I had kept bottled up for fear they would crush me. I talked about the late-night laughter, the quiet mornings, the shared glances that spoke volumes without a single word. Jason listened, truly listened, without interrupting, without trying to fix anything. His presence was so attentive, so present, that it made my chest ache. And then, when I had no more words left to give, he leaned forward and said, "You're allowed to miss him and still need someone." The truth of that statement hit me like a wave. I had to close my eyes just to steady myself. When I opened them again, Jason was closer than before, his face shadowed, but his eyes bright and open. There was no pity in them, only understanding. Only a quiet, unspoken offer of comfort. For a fleeting moment, I felt like I was teetering on the edge of something both dangerous and beautiful, something that could heal me or break me even further. My heart pounded, uncertain yet willing. It had been so long since anyone looked at me like that, like I was desired, not pitted. My breath caught. I could feel the electricity humming in the space between us. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I let myself wonder, what if moving forward didn't mean forgetting? What if it meant discovering something new, something tender and healing among the ruins? Jason must have seen the shift in my eyes, because he smiled, a slow, tentative smile full of unspoken promises. My pulse quickened. I didn't know where this night would lead, but for once I wasn't afraid. I was alive, and I was ready to feel again. Jason shifted slightly, his knee brushing against mine. The contact, so slight and yet so intimate, made my breath hitch. It would have been easy to move away, to pretend the moment hadn't happened. But I didn't. I stayed. I let the warmth of his skin seep into the cold, hollow places inside me. His eyes searched mine carefully, offering me every chance to retreat, every opportunity to say no. But I didn't move. My heart was beating louder than any words I could have spoken. Without thinking, I reached out and touched his hand. My fingers curled lightly around his. His hand was warm, steady, slightly calloused, a grounding contrast to the trembling vulnerability inside me. He responded by turning his palm upward, intertwining our fingers. Such a simple gesture. So intimate it made my throat tighten. I had forgotten what it felt like to be touched like this, not out of obligation, but from genuine care and presence. Jason inched closer, bridging the space between us. He lifted his hand slowly, almost reverently, and tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear. His fingertips barely grazed my skin, yet it sent a shiver down my spine. For a long moment, he just looked at me, his gaze heavy with meaning. "You're so beautiful," he whispered, his voice laced with something dangerously close to awe. No one had said that to me in years, not with that kind of raw, unfiltered sincerity. Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes, but I blinked them away. Instead, I leaned into his touch, letting his hand cradle my cheek. The world outside dissolved, the grief, the loneliness, the endless stream of condolences, until there was only this moment. Only him. Only us. He leaned in closer, and I could feel his breath on my lips. There was a pause, a final moment of hesitation, as if he was offering me one last chance to back away. But I didn't want to. I closed the distance. Our lips met. Our lips met. Soft at first, hesitant, like the brush of a memory not yet fully formed. But then something deeper took hold, something neither of us had words for. His mouth moved against mine with aching gentleness, as though he knew I was still fragile, still healing. And yet there was urgency too, the kind that comes when you've both waited too long to feel truly seen. When we pulled apart, our foreheads rested together, breaths mingling in the quiet space between us. There was no rush, no need to explain or define what had just happened. The silence was enough. It said everything. "I don't know what this is," I murmured, my voice barely a whisper. "But I know it doesn't feel wrong." Jason's hand cupped my face again, his thumb brushing away a tear I hadn't noticed falling. "It's not wrong," he said, so certain, so steady. "It's just real." We sat like that for a while, two souls tangled in the delicate process of rediscovery. I no longer felt haunted by the weight of my grief. Instead, I felt rooted, grounded, like I had found something unexpected in the ashes of loss, not a replacement but a resurrection. Eventually, I rested my head on his shoulder, and he held me, not with possession, but with quiet reverence. There was nothing hurried between us. We knew the world would ask questions, that judgment might come. But in that moment, none of it mattered. What mattered was the flicker of hope beginning to grow inside me again. Hope that I could love differently, that I could live fully, that healing didn't mean erasing the past, but allowing the present to bloom alongside it. The night deepened around us, wrapping the house in stillness. And somewhere between the echo of my sorrow and the promise of something new, I finally allowed myself to exhale. I was no longer just surviving. I was beginning again.